hello, it's me again. Still sitting on my porch, still looking at my pretty cat, little bird. And I want to talk to you about one of the key, I got like three elements to a novel. And the first one is that of narrative structure and narrative time. Those are one thing that go together. And that's the one I want to talk about today. I will record two more videos on big novelistic narrative elements, 2 and 3, probably this weekend, and I'll have those posted for next week. So, what I mean by narrative, structure, and time, these are the building blocks of the novel in terms of what happens, when it happens. Also, when was this book written, and what is the time in which it takes place. Okay, so I'm going to go through, there's four of these things. Count them, four. Okay, so the first sort of piece of this narrative structure and time is simply when was this novel written? And really significantly, with Parable of the Sower, it was written in 1993. So if you're just picking it up from the bookshelf, or you got it in the mail and you open, you see, oh, it's set in the year 2024. She must think that Los Angeles looks like this today. It was written 30 years ago, so what the novel is about is it's about looking into the future. It would be like me writing a novel that's set in 2054 right now. So it just, excuse me, it just so happens that this novel is set right in our own backyard, right in our own time. So you can say, well, two things. What's going on in the 1990s that makes her think that the world in 30 years is going to collapse like this? What were people thinking about the environment back then? Obviously, environmental conditions play a huge role in the deterioration and sort of disastrous way that the Earth and especially Southern California looked during the time of the novel. So what's going on in 1993? You also had the LA race riots that happened then, which should resonate with the 2021 Black Lives Matter movement. You had, again, police brutality that instigated it. A guy named Rodney King was beaten senseless by the police for absolutely no reason. And it was one straw too many of police violence targeting minority peoples. So there's something that's going on in 1993. And then we can say, when is the novel set? That's number two. When is the novel taking place? A lot of novels, if you think about, you might not have read Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter, but you might know that it's about Puritan times in America. But he's writing it in 1850, so he's setting it 200 years in the past. And so that's really important, is what's going on in Hawthorne's world of 1850 that makes a book about the Puritan times, a couple hundred years ago, relevant to that point in time. Or Mark Twain's Huck Finn is published in 1885, but it's set 40 years earlier while slavery was still a legal institution in the United States. So this sort of relationship between part one, when was it written, and part two, when was it set? And we have a novel that's set 30 years in the future from the time that Octavia Butler first wrote it. Number three is what we call the narrative present. It is the present tense of the novel itself. You can draw it on a timeline. Day 1, this is what happens. Day 10 or year 10, this is what happens. And by the end, this is what happens. So there's a forward-moving sort of timeline that is the character or main character or character's present tense. So that's number 3. That's in Parable of the Sower. Obviously, the present tense is just about everything in the text because it's being presented to us as a journal, as Lauren's diary. And that plays into part 4, which is plot structure. When do these events take place in relationship to one another? So while it's very much a linear text, Parable of the Sower is, and that's something you always want to measure on that fourth timeline of what order do the events take place. Is it linear or nonlinear? Nonlinear texts jump back and forth between the present and the past. And there is some of that in Parable of the Sower, right? We get the dream that she has about she and Corey looking up at the stars when she was a much younger child. We get details about what Keith used to do to her when he was a little runt and would make Lauren feel fake pain. He would draw stuff on his, red ink on his arms and make Lauren actually bleed at that point. So we do get check-ins with the past tense, but mostly it's this very linear narrative that is unfolding before our eyes. This is not a narrator who is in the future looking back on her life, right? She's writing it as it occurs to her. So you could say it's a very experiential plot structure. The events happen as Lauren is experiencing them, or sometimes she'll say, this is a bunch of stuff happened this week, and now I'm going to write about what happened 3 days ago up until what happened just an hour ago. Okay, so those are our 4 registers of time. There is the time in which it was written, the time in which it was set, the narrative's present tense, and then its plot structure. So for the quiz, I want you to be able to say for each one of these 4 registers of time, this is when it was written, this is when it was set, this is the present tense of the novel, and you might give a couple of examples from how far you've read so far, what's happening at the beginning and what's happening up through chapter 13 where you're at right now. And then finally, I want you to sort of review and, say back to me what I was saying about the plot structure and the order in which events take place. That's number 4. And your bonus question, I've got 4 cats. So I've got one that's named Bird, because she used to tweet, 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 tweet. She was always hungry and she would tweet for food. I have another one who is the dark-haired version of Bird. They're both calico cats. My other one's it's a black and orange one, as opposed to Bird, who's kind of a pale orange and pale gray. And those are called, the dark ones are called tortoiseshell calicos. So because tortoise, I called her Turtle. I'm embarrassed. So I have a cat named Turtle and a cat named Bird. Okay, I think I was able to get through that relatively quickly, 8 minutes. Again, always email me if you have questions. I will post this quiz ASAP, and it's just a 5-point quiz, and there will be quizzes on all of the lectures, so I want you to watch them and take some notes and pay attention. Okay, have a great holiday weekend. I'm really looking forward to mine too. Bye.